Can you guys share my see my screen?
Voice is breaking.
Now can you see my screen? I hope the voice is clear. Anyway, so this is the notebook I prepared. Okay. So the thing is, whenever we program something, we have to give input. Like you can see on social media websites, anywhere. By default, the most stored data on internet is a string, which can be in the form of user information, your phone numbers, anything. Like even on WhatsApp, you write group description, everything is a string. So that's why input and output matter in Python. When suppose when we are writing any email, that is the input to that email, and when someone received that email itself, that is the output for him. So in the same way, whenever we are writing any program, like you are building a pipeline, you want to test that pipeline. So you just take some inputs and then check whatever the input you have given to it. Is it like working in the expected manner or not? So for example, suppose I have built a pipeline and I just want to test whether it is modifying the data in a specific format, within the specific format and putting it to the database. I just want to test my program just for the testing purpose. I just want to test my program. So I will give input which we data engineers say entry point to the code, entry point to the pipeline. So that is the input for our program. And entry point can be in the form of that program is reading data from any database, or it is put and it is modifying some values in between, and then uh, like updating any database as well. Between our everything is happening in code. That's why input and output matters. So this is the very basic thing I'm telling you, and as you can see on my screen, by default, just keep this one thing in mind. By default, everything is a string in Python whenever you take input. No matter whatever you write, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, everything is by default input a string in Python. If you will see, suppose if you will see on my screen, this is the I have made a variable name, and this is a string lowercase. In the same way, I have made a variable 7a and b, and x is a string which I assigned to it. And I have made three variables. As you can see, three variables. So whenever I print this variable a and 7 a and b 7 8, you will see the output is connect. Okay, you can see there is a error in the output. Why? Because like before taking any input or something, I just want to teach you there is some naming variable naming conventions in Python. Suppose you can name a variable like this, which is all lowercase letter. It will work fine. But variable naming, these are basic things. Just keep in mind. Variable naming can't start with any integer or number. Like 7a and b not make sense. But if you comment this line of code and then print a and b 7 8, and you will see it will work, because this is the right naming convention. In the same way, if you will make this variable with underscore, if you will make this variable with underscore, this variable JIO, and then try to print this variable we have assigned a string to this variable, and you can see it is working because a variable naming can be started with the underscore as well. In the same way, if you make a uppercase variable naming with the uppercase, you will see I am just printing this variable. In Python, we use this print function to display output to the user. And then you can see this variable naming convention is also fine. We are okay with it. Something is called camel case as well. I mean, it's you can read on internet camel case, snake case, something. These are just variable naming conventions. We just keep this in mind whenever you make a variable. Just like according to the according in our code base, as a programmer, we focus more on how to name the variable accordingly so it can make sense to the other user. So whatever you write whenever you go into a company, whatever the code base you write, it is not like you are writing just for the sake of the program should work. You're writing for other people as well, because many developers contribute at the same code base in a specific project, and that's why variable naming is very important. Suppose you have defined a function which is multiplying every number by 2 3. So you will say something like so you will name that function something like def multiply by 2 something. But if you write that function like multi2, then this not make sense. That's why variable naming is important. Now come to this input output in Python. Everything in Python, by default, whenever you write anything inside this input is a string. And you can see this, and I have wrote a comment as well. Whenever you write bracket notation in the end of something, it's behave as a function. What's this happening? It's behave as a function. Whenever you use this bracket notation, it behave as a function in Python. So if you will see this thing, I am making a variable name and writing input to it. This input is a function, and when I'm taking the input, this means I'm invoking this function input and asking to a user that asking to a user that input something. Okay, this is the challenge. Okay. So input is a function in Python which invoke the Python that to ask some input from a user. And bracket notation, whenever you see bracket notation, just keep this thing in mind. It's always a function. And by default, everything in Python, I've written this by default, every input function understand everything as a string. So if I write this thing, it's asking for an input, and that's why this program is waiting. If you can see, this is keep looping because I'm not giving any input. So now I'm giving input. I am here. Enter. Input is received by this variable name, and we are with the help of print function. Again, this is the function. So with the help of print function, I am writing this variable. I am here. So the data which is present in this variable will something like I am here. It is something like this. In the same way, if you will see, in the same way, when giving input to a function in Python, suppose you went on a website and it is asking for you to enter your number with the country code. If there is no information written over there, please enter your country code as a prefix before writing your actual phone number. You will not, some people do it, some people not do it. That's why while asking for input from a user, we can also do this. We can also do this. Please fill number with country code. So this input function can take this additional argument. This means we are presenting this information to the user, and then user will, if I will run this function, you can see it is asking for a user, please fill number with country code. So it is like we want to take input from a user by displaying some information, by displaying some additional information, what the user has to do. Like previously, there was just a blank window and I can enter anything. But this time I know, okay, I have to enter my number with the country code. So I can enter my phone number with the country code. This is how this input things work in Python. And just keep in mind, by default, everything is a string. How? I'm asking from a user, I input, and user is entering 54. Now, 54 as a human, I can say 54 is a number, but to Python, this input argument, everything is a by default string. This is the what we say. There's a word. Yeah, these are the core basic core logic which we have to keep in mind. So with the input, just keep in mind, by default, everything is a string. So I have entered 54 as an input. Now 54 came here. Now 54 is assigned to this, not like this. It is assigned to this variable like this, 54 internally. And then when there's a function in Python, again, there's a function in Python. So it's like print is a function, but before that, but inside it, type is a function. Inside the type, I am asking what is the data type of this variable name. So it is giving the data type of this variable name is string, and it is giving output to whom, to print function again. So it is like the execution will start from inside the deep. Suppose there is a bracket like this. So suppose there's a bracket like this, and then there's a bracket like this. So the execution in Python will start from the bracket which is deep inside. Then X, and we will execute Y, then we will execute Z. So in this way, the execution will start. Okay. So if you will see here, I asked for an input. I entered 54, but when I'm checking the data type of this input, which is string. So we will see how many data types are there. So basically, just keep, for the sake of this class, just keep in mind there can be as many data types, but in general, if I will show you data types. So yeah, data types can be text, which is like string, encoded string, special emoji characters, UTF-8, everything, whatever you use as an emoji, plus, minus, multiply, divide, everything is a string. Numerical data type can be integer, float, complex, like integer number, minus infinity plus infinity, and then float number, which with a decimal, complex number in the form of a plus ib. Then sequence data types can be list, tuple, range. The sequence data type can be list, tuple, range. And then if you will see, mapping means dictionary, which has a key and a value. Then there's a set. Please mute. Then there is a variable as well, which is there's a dictionary as well. And then there is set as well. Set, I mean, these are all the mathematical concepts which you have read in the high school. So set is the set consists of unique values. Then there is something called, I guess if you remember, like unions of set, and then subtraction of set, addition of sets, it's like that. Then Boolean, true and false. These are called Boolean data types. Then binary data types like byte array. Binary means which the way computer interpret your data. That's called the binary data set, data type. So we were at input. So if you will see, here, if you will see, okay. So I asked from a user that please enter the input, and he entered 57. And then when I'm printing the type of this, it is by default a string. In the same way, if I ask for user to enter his phone number with country code, like +91, something like this. So user entered his phone number with country code with some additional special characters, which is plus, minus, plus, and suppose this is a dash. When I'm printing, it is also a string. So this is the basic. Everything by default is the user input is string in Python. A plus IB is also sorry. If I write this A plus IB is also a string. So how we can give integer input to Python? How we can integer input to a variable? So we will see some programs, like whenever you go on websites to code, it asks for a input and then there's an output to that problem. So it is, suppose it is asking you from your name, remove every vowels, suppose. Then your name is act as an input, and the output of this program is again your name, which is of data type string, but there's a change. There will be no vowels in your name because our program is working like that. But suppose if your program is saying that enter a number and multiply it by something, then how you can do this? This is a concept called typecasting. So whenever you change data type to another data type of a variable, is called typecasting. So I'm asking here, if you will see here, I'm asking for an input. Please enter an integer. I'm asking for an input. Please enter an integer. And if you will see this, it's saying please enter an integer. Then I am entering, suppose 90. So can anyone please respond politely? Is this an integer? Is this 90 is integer or a string? Come on, anyone can answer quickly. A string. Yeah, makes sense. Why this is a string? Because by default everything is a string in Python. Every input is string in Python. In the same way, if you will see, but I want user to enter an integer. I ask for an integer, it entered the string, because the way my program is interpreting the input of a user is in the string format. But I want to typecast this data type to another data type, which is integer. I will just write this thing, integer. So this int is again a function. If you will see, everything in Python which from in this bracket notation is a function. So I'm typecasting this input, it received this. So my program received this, and I'm typecasting it into a integer data type. So if you will see this printing number, it's again print 90. But if I want to see the type of my variable, this type number. So whenever I write some code base and debug some program or even test some pipeline, I have to check. Sometimes there's an error and I want to check what is the root cause of the error. So many times it's like it is asking for a string input and then we are typecasting some other things. But the additional the program which is written depending on, suppose this execution, it will say give error like I'm expecting a string but you have given me integer, so I can't do this, I can't do that. This is the way how the things work. So these are the basic, you can say, okay, these are the basic things you can say which we use daily, but in a larger code base, not in a like a smaller code base. I will show you code base as well, but let's first focus on this. One more thing, keep in mind, this print function itself can take n number of arguments. Suppose here I ask for suppose I ask for the print the data type of this variable number, and then with write some additional information. This is data type something XX. Then you can see this print function can take this argument as well. And I want to write something else as well. Suppose I want to print a list. This is a list we will see. You can see that this print function can take 3 arguments with this comma separation. I guess if you will do this, then it will throw error because can only concatenate string, not list. But if you will write something, this is the error, and please, we will see like how to read this error, and this is very important. Change. So you will see this is taking 2 input. One is this data type, and one another input is a string, because the input separation is separated with the help of comma, and it's just adding 2 strings. So here, if you will see, here you will see when a function, print is a function, everything in Python with bracket notation is a function. You are invoking a function written somewhere by the Python, the creator of Python. They have written somewhere inside their code base that whenever some user will call print and with bracket notation, you should invoke that thing. That's why when we install Python, many other libraries or many other code base also install. So that's why in my computer there is Python installed, or in the this collab notebook as well, this Python installed. That's how you can able to invoke this print function. So just keep this thing in mind. Print is not like it originates from somewhere. Behind this print function, there is object oriented programming. There is something called iterator, which is running in the code base. That's how it is working. So if you invoke this print function, you will see it is taking n number of arguments. How? You can say, see, first argument is a string, second argument is an integer, third argument is again a string, again integer, again string, again a list, or the list data type. So when a function take n number of arguments, it is called star args. We will see when we learn functions. In the same way, you can take float input in Python as well, but there is a change while taking the float input. So again, the typecasting is working. Whenever you change the type of another data type of a variable, it's called typecasting. So you want to take the decimal input, which we say float input. So if you will see here, okay. I asked for float input, enter float number. I entered 78.6, 78.5. It's saying that, okay, 78.5 is there. But if you check the data type of this print type decimal input, you will see 78.5 is there, but the data type is float. But if I enter, instead of float, if I enter 78, just 78, it is appending 0.0 and it's saying this is 78.0, which is equivalent to 78, and it's right. But I entered an integer, but then it converted that integer to a float. But in reality, what I entered? In reality, I entered a string. In reality, I entered a string. It is converting that string to float. It is not converting integer to float, because if I remove this typecasting, this input function will interpret every input as a string. So I'm converting string to float data type, not integer to float. This is how I can show you. If you will convert this, if you will see this, I'm asking for an input. Please enter input. Like suppose I am asking enter number. I'm asking for to enter number, and then you will see one, two, three brackets here. You will see asking for me to enter a number. I entered, let's suppose I'm entering 65 because it asked me to enter a number 65. Then it converted this 65 to 65.5 and then converted it back to 65. So if you will see, if I again enter this input, okay, let me show you. There's a logic I want to show you. Ask for input, and then I converted this input to integer, and then I converted this input to float. Okay. Enter this print int ou output, integer output. It asks me for a number and convert it to integer. So it asked me 78.5. Now this is throwing error. What is the reason? Because I entered 78.5, which is interpreted as a string. Then from 78.5, I converted it to 78 because I just asked for integer. So this 78.5 is initially a string. Then it converted to 78 as a integer. Then again, I am saying convert this integer to float, which is not possible because it's an integer itself. Any number can be converted to a floating point number or a decimal number on when it is in the form of a string. So this means if you will see the error as well, invalid literal for base invalid literal for integer with base 10. This is because when you convert string to integer, it is not possible, because when I'm converting this string to integer itself, 78.5 is a string input and I'm trying to convert it to integer. The program execution stopped at this point, not stop at float. It is stopped at this point, integer. So integer only understands base 10 values, and 78.5 is not a base 10 value, it is a string value. So if you want to convert string directly to integer, 78.5 directly to integer, first you have to convert it to float, and then you can convert that float to integer. So I will show you just for a second. आएंगे किसी ये के साथ ये how okay, sorry for the interruption. So if you will see, I can convert string to I can convert string to integer. Annotation. Mouse. Okay. You will see I can convert string to integer, but I can't convert directly string to integer because there's a reason, because integer only understand values with base 10. So if you will see here in this input which I've given here, if I run this program, you will see it is asking for an input which by default Python understand everything as string. So I entered 78.5. Then it is successfully converted to 78. How? First, this 78.5 converted to float, which is 78.5 as a number. Then from this number, we are just asking for an integer value, which is 78, and we are forgetting this 0.5. That's how this conversion is working. Understood? Any doubt you guys have? Clear. Okay. So if you will just see as as a data, like in data engineering as well, we just deal with data. So that's why having the knowledge of data types is really important. We deal with data, we ask for this, we ask for that, give me this data, give me this format. Sometimes client also sends some of the data in the wrong format. Suppose you ask for a client that in the column sales revenue, you ask client that they should send the integer, sorry, float. They should send the float value. But in place of that, they are sending some other data types as well. They are sending some none values. They are sending some other strings. So when you are building a pipeline, at the entry point itself, you should have this data checks. Because if just imagine your pipeline support first input as a float value, but if you provide it as a string, your pipeline will fail. And in data engineering, if coding itself, if something will break, the program execution is stop at that point. And just imagine, suppose you are working for a retail firm, and every day people come online, they shop, they purchase some items, and if your pipeline fail, you will lose data of many people. That's why building solid pipeline, having data checks at the entry point itself is really important. And how these all things happen? These all things happen through whatever you are seeing on your screen. These all basic, this all basic Python basic things. So these are the buzzwords, fancy words which you will hear in the market, but these are just the basic, which is code, which is working behind everything. In the same way, you can take a complex number input, which is in the form of a plus ib. If I am asking for a complex number to input, then you can see I am asking for 5 plus 9j, and then it is working. It is saying, sorry, yeah, I am asking for a real part. So the real part is of this number is 5. The imaginary part is 9, and these two types are float. But if you ask for the whole, not the real part, not the imaginary part, I assume that you need this, that you know this real and imaginary this mathematics shit. If you will see, I'm asking for the data type of this complex number. It is giving me 7 plus 9j. it is giving me complex type. The data type of this number is complex. So this is the base. The basic thing. What is it? By default, everything is a string in Python, and you can't convert a string directly to a integer. First, you have to convert a string to float, then float to integer. So whenever I work in dataset, I can see somewhere I can see NaN, and when I try to convert NaN to integer, it's giving me error because you can't convert a string directly to integer. But when I convert this NaN to float not means that I'm converting this to none or something like that. But in Python, this NaN has something other data type converted to suppose 0.00. Then I can convert this 0.00 to 0. But the direct conversion is not possible. If you will see, let's check this. Just check this thing as well. Suppose a equal to none. None is a string, and you try to convert this none. NaN and none is different. None, and then you can try to convert it to float. In float, you provide this a, and then you will see. And then you can see here it's giving me error because could not convert a string to a float. So just keep this thing in mind as well. This 78.6 can be is a string, but can be converted to a float. Then why not this? Sorry. Then why not this? You will see. And if I write here none, yeah. If this none cannot be converted to a float, but the 78.87.6 is a string, can be converted to a float, then how this thing is happening in Python? So that's what Python is a dynamically typed language, which means only I know that there's a variable a equal to 87.6. I know this. Suppose I am here. This is a very important concept. Python, that's why we read online. Python is a dynamically typed language. Okay, dynamically typing. What this means typing? You will see 87.6 is here. I know I am here. This is I am here. I know a is a variable and 87.6 as a string is assigned to it. But this notation float, this function float doesn't know. It's just a function. And it got a. This function got a as an argument. And whenever this function execute, it will go to a and then check the value inside it and then behave accordingly. If the value inside it is a complete string, it will say can't convert a string to float, but the value inside it has only one this point, this dot. You can say this dot, or you can say this special character. This special character is present 2 times. It will say this value can't be converted to float, but because this special character is present 2 times, if you will say, it will say this. It will say we could not convert a string to float, but in the same time, if this dot is present 1 time, it can be converted to a floating number. How? Because this is called dynamically typing. Every time program receive this variable a, then it go to this then go to this 8, go to 7, go to dot 6, go to 6. It keeps just understand it like that. It keeps counting. It's keep in memory. Okay, I have received dot 1 time, and the value which is before dot, it is in the form of integer 87 something something on the value on the it is in the form of integer on a scale of 0 to 9. and the value after it is also on the scale of 0 to 9. So I interpret this as a decimal, and I can able to convert this to a float. This is how this program is working. That's why we say Python is a dynamically typed language. In the same way, it is reading this complex number. It will look for this pattern 7 plus ij. It look for plus. It look for the real part 7. For the imaginary part, that is 9. Even if you provide this input as a 7 plus 8 and then space and then j, you will see it is giving a error because space it got a space as well. But what pattern it was looking for? It was looking for 7 plus 8j without space. This means a plus ib pattern it was looking for. But we provided the space. That's why it is interpreting this as a complete string. That's why it is saying argument is a malformed string. Because by default, everything is a string input in Python. And when we are trying to convert a string to complex, this is giving this kind of error. I hope now the things are very, very clear why we called Python as a dynamically typed language. So this is the base, which people say like strong, like improve your base, focus on basic part. So this is the basic part. And when you guys will solve some questions in the coming classes, you will see. Okay. So are the things clear? Are the things clear? Okay, makes sense. Nice. Okay, got it. So, now come to this. Now we are understanding. We understood the input part. We understood the output part, that is print thing. We understood input as a function and print as a function. Now we are coming to multiply variables input in Python. This means last time we were taking a single variable input. I made a single variable a and I'm asking for an input. And I was asking for an input. Please give me you just make this variable single variable, take an input. But suppose we want to give multiple inputs, multiple inputs to our program. I have made multiple variables. Okay. And then I was asking for input, and then I'm splitting my input on the basis of space. How this thing will work? Let's check. Okay. Program execution comes here. They are saying enter students data and splitting on the basis of space. This means I am entering students data. I have entered student name. I have entered student age. I have entered student subject. I have, and then these are empty. Empty means just assume it as a gender. Then enter. So what happened in this multiple variable input? I got this whole input. This whole input I got as a string. There is another what is called attribute. When you this in Python we can invoke something by dot notations. So on this whenever I'm asking for an input, it's giving me Karthike 25 CSC and M, and then I'm invoking another method, or I will say function. I mean, if you in the object-oriented programming, the functions which are written inside the class are called methods. So suppose this is a class X, and then there is a function definition which is split, split function definition inside this class, and it is asking for a string as an input. So this is a function, but whenever that function is written inside an object-oriented programming, it is called a method. Hold for 1 minute. Let me. So in Python, this, if you will see this dot notation. So this dot notation can be used to access attributes, and as I told you, methods or elements of an object or module. So if I show you, the input was there, student, the input was there, and then we are saying that split this input on the basis of space. You will see on the basis of these space, you will see, and assign it to variables. But it did the same thing because we were giving 3 spaces, which means there will be 4 splits. When I'm printing name is there, age is there, subject is there. But if I'm saying just remove this, now you have received four values, but to catch those 4 values, there are just 3 variables. And if we will print this, you will see I am here X. You will see too many values to unpack. So this is something called packing and unpacking in Python, which we will see when we learn functions. That's why functions are really important, because everything is a function from the first day you learn. So, but I can't teach you function on first hand. So that's why it is saying too many values to unpack. We will see this thing. So just imagine like this. You can suppose you are on the ground floor and your friend is on the 3rd floor. You have 2 hands, okay, and you can use one hand at a time to get one value. And if that your hand is used, you can't use the same one. You have to use another one to catch another value. You shout at your friend from the ground floor. You ask him, throw the water bottle and pen. But your friends throw water bottle, pen as well, but he throw a notebook additionally. So, but you just have 2 hands to receive. So you got the water bottle, you got the pen, but that notebook you can't able to catch because your both 2 hands are filled now. In the same way, I am invoking this input. I'm taking the input from a user. I'm invoking this method split, that whatever the input you will receive, split it. And then when I'm this function is returning, this whole thing is returning 3 values, 4 values. But I am only catching it into 3 variables or in 3 hands. That's why it is saying too many values to unpack. This means I am throwing 4 things, but you can only able to receive 3 things. So there is one additional thing. That's why it is giving this kind of error, value error, too many values to unpack. I hope you understand this thing. We will see again this thing in Python. Yeah. Now, I will share this notebook as well with you guys, but not now. And whenever I was learning anything from YouTube or from any online classes or from anywhere, I used to make sure that at least I keep notebook and pen with me so I can somehow engage with the content. If it is like I'm sitting idle on my bed, resting on my bed, sitting anywhere, or like I'm just traveling somewhere, watching this online class in a mobile phone, it will not make sense. You always has the option for recording, but still here you can, I mean, in online class, you can ask some doubts as well if you have some. So this is multi-line single input in Python. Python is, I am focusing in this folded engineering program, I am focusing more on Python because in future, You will not understand I will not teach these basic things. There will be code directly, and you can able to understand that piece of code, because that piece of code will be complex. Suppose we work with Airflow, we write some basic decks, we write some basic decks of Airflow, and then you will see that you will see it's really hard to understand if you will not focus on this part. You will see, you will say like, why this is happening. We will make some basic decks, and you will say that why this is complex. So that's why just focus on this part. So last time I said multiple variable input in Python, and this time I will say multi-line single input in Python, which means if you will say, I mean, when we solve questions on HackerRank or some other code chef as well, when we solve some questions, we will see, they ask for a input in the form of array. Okay, I have to give you a nice example. Okay. Let me remove this integer only. It's asking for enter names of your friend who are going on trip. But these names will come like this in a single list. So list is a data type in Python which can hold value of, list is a container in Python. List is a iterable or a container that you can iterate. Iterate means you can walk on every value, 7, 8, 10, 10, 100, 99. So you can step on any value. Suppose just imagine your feet are on 7, your feet are on 8, then 9, then 10, then 99. So you are moving ahead. So list is a container in Python which hold values of any data type. This can hold values of any data type. So it can hold integer, it can hold dictionary, it can hold list, it can hold boolean, it can hold byte array, memory, anything. And it's super easy to understand, and most of the time we work on list. So it is asking for enter name of your variable. This is the for loop. We will see how this for loop work. But now just I'm breaking this program. This is the input variable. This is a variable I have created, and I'm giving this bracket notation that just this is the initialization of a list. Here we are initializing list. Mind my spelling. Initializing list, and then I am saying this is a for loop. This range function, this range data type we will see. So it will start from start value, which is 0, stop -1, stop at 4, and step by default step equal to 1. So it is like 0, 5, 1. This is how this range thing is working. So it will generate the number from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this for loop is doing, going on one by one on each number. And then this loop will run for 5 times if you include 0. And at every step, every time, suppose it is at 0, it is running at 0 time. We are asking for enter name of your friend, a single input at a time, which is n. So I entered k. Then k is done. What it will do to this list, it will append. We will see everything in the next classes. To this list, it will append this value k. Again, the program execution will go back to this one, go back to this for loop. Now it is on 1. 1 means it is running another time. Now again, I'm asking for an input. So this is the way how this will, how this thing will run on. How this thing will, I mean, this loop throw error because I entered a string and you can't convert a string to integer directly. So let me change this program. So if you will see K L M N O, KLMNO. Now this is in the form of list. My program want input like this, and suppose the another execution is whenever you receive this input, you have to eliminate those friends whose name start with a vowel. So it will eliminate N and O. What's the vowel? A, E, I, O, U. So yeah, it will only eliminate O. So this is the how the logic should logic are connected. So suppose you are solving a problem on lead code or anywhere, and you're suppose in the interview, your interviewer said that take a list as input. Your interviewer said to you, take list as input and eliminate those friend names, delete those friend names whose whose spelling start with vowel. So if you will, you can take list input like this, but there is another way as well. You can take the list input in a single line with the help of list comprehension. We will see. Just like I hope you understood this part. I hope thoda bahut. The challenge is because we have some students who don't know Hindi, um, who don't know, who are only the English speaker. So I can't help this thing. Okay. Okay, you not understood this part. Can you please open your mic and then tell me, because I can't see the chat every time. Which part you didn't understood?
Hello. You have
Yeah.
used a square bracket here, input from user, right? So
Yeah.
what is the use of this bracket,
I
or
told you it's
what is the
written
curly
clearly.
bracket?
It's written clearly. Initializing list. This is an empty list. If you will see, I mean, that's why I asked you guys that please install on VS Code or just open Colab as well. You can type print type of input from user. You will see. You will see. It is a list type. We will see. We will learn this list data type as well, list data structure as well in coming classes. But then, for the sake of understanding, just think this is the way how we initialize empty list, like a empty bucket. This is just an empty bucket. You know bucket, okay? You can fill water. You can fill anything in the bucket. So this is just an empty bucket. Now you will see. You saw that thing. I mean, these are all the list. These are all the list methods which we will see in the next classes. But this is, I'm just telling you, because now we are understanding how we can take inputs in multiple form. You will see again initializing an empty list, again iterating 2 times 0 1, because this is like start step minus start and minus 1 and step. So it is like start with the value 0. Matlab this means this program will run for first time, 1 time, then end value is 2 minus 1, which is equal to 1, and the step value is by default 1. You provide or not provide, by default the additional argument is 1. Start is 0, end at 1, and then 1. Then when you count 0 1, these are two things. These are the count. You did count this 2 times, 0 and 1. That's why this for loop will run for 2 times. And then if you will see, I'm asking for student data. Now if you will observe, now if you will see, here I wrote something, multiple variable input in Python. Now you will see here, I'm asking for the same thing. Sorry, I'm asking for the same thing here. Multiple variable input in Python. And now this time my program's saying that enter the student details, name, age, subject, but you have to enter this for multiple students. And when I'm doing this, you will see I'm writing the name, K, and then age, and then subject math, what's not enough value to unpack, name is subject. Oh, sorry. It should be split on the basis of space, not by comma. So name is like M, age is 23, subject is E. Name is Y, and then age is 25, subject is P. So here you will see I have entered the student data, and this has taken the input and then appended it to this bucket. This is the way you can take the multiple data input from user in separate lines. Okay. I mean, this time, maybe if you not know Python very well, so this time it's a bit complex to understand. But just keep in mind these two logic. Everything by default is a string in Python, and then we can unpack values as well. This is the way we are unpacking values. We can also take list input, list or array, you can say, but it's just technically list. Array is a different data type. We can technically take list input in one line in Python by using the list comprehension. Here you will see there's a company, Tata Consultancy and Services, and when I entered a test, I received a test from their and I received a test on their platform, and they were asking me to solve a question, and then there they were asking for the input integer, not integer, they were asking for float input. They were asking for float input in a single line or for multiple users. What that time that time I was very new in Python, so I just remember this syntax: integer x for each x in input dot split. So if you will see 767.5, 34.5, 34.6, 87.9, enter. You will see this error: invalid literal for integer with base 10. This means by default, these all values are not float values. These all values are string, and we can't convert string to integer. I was getting the same error again and again, and I just remembered this piece of code, but I can't able to figure out where I was doing wrong. So is this list of list? No, this is not list of list. I'm showing you how this is working internally. I will show you. This is list comprehension. This means list comprehension is like whatever you do, it will output you in the form of list. I am writing this. I am saying this is what I am saying is I'm saying for every input you receive, convert it into an integer. But this list comprehension means whenever you provide this, these brackets are used for list in Python. These brackets are used for list in Python. Used for list in Python. So this list comprehension means you can able to write your program in a single line inside this bracket notations, inside this list notation. So whatever the output your program will give, it will give in the form inside this list. So it will always output a list. That's why it is called list comprehension. Whatever you write, your program will output a list. So just I am breaking this piece of code. Just understand. It is saying for every input you provide, convert it to integer. So 87654 are provided as an input. This time, this every individual character is a string, and I'm converting this string to a integer. That's why when I'm printing this, print list input. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So for taking input, instead of writing this bulky code, this whole bulky code to take these values as a input. So if I will show you quickly, int input variable this. Oh, okay. Some problem. Okay. So now instead of taking this input like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, this loop will run five times. Instead of taking what you want initially, you want it should be in this format. But what you have to do to get it, you have to write this whole code. Sorry, you have to write this whole code. But so what is happening in this code? You are initializing a list. Inside this list, you are saying do what you have to do 5 times. 5 times take input and put all the values inside this list. And in list comprehension, what you did the same thing. Take in the input n times, because it is not 5 times, it is n times, and then convert it to integer, put it into a list. You are doing this thing in single line. So this is the easy way you can take the multiple values input at a time. And if you want to take the string input, so you just have to do x, because by default everything is a string. So she will write take input k m n o p q. You can able to do it. If you want your input in the form of in the float, what you can do, just convert data type here, float. When you will understand the list, this all things whatever you are seeing will become very clear. So you want your input in the form of float. So you provide 78.6, 56.9. You get your input in the form of float. So if you will see execution of above line, which is this execution of above line, which is go on each string value of list, typecast each value as integer. Okay, so if I typecast each value as integer, so it is like we are converting string to list directly. Whatever input you are giving, this whole input is a string, and you are outputting it as a list like this. Clear now? Cool. And then if you want to take input now, this split method, the default argument is space. But if you won't write this, the default is also a space, because there are some default arguments provided to a function. If the user will not overwrite those arguments, they will take the default value, which is space. You will see this thing in function. Now you can also take the list input separated by comma. If you just pass this comma to this default argument, which was initially space, now it is comma. You will see this thing. I'm saying give comma separated values like 9, then I have to provide comma 9, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when it will go on each value, C for comma, And if the comma is there, it will say, okay, I'm done with this. I'm done with 5. I'm done with 4. I'm done with 3. Okay. I'm done with 1. And after 1, there is nothing. So when we will study for loop, inside the for loop, there is a code written for the stop iteration. This means you are on the last value. Don't go beyond. This is a code written inside the Python library, inside the Python programming language. So the user know where to stop the iteration. So why these all things are there? Suppose you import something, you import this library, import pandas as PD. So you import pandas. So what is this? This is just some piece of code written by someone to make your life easier. That's why it's called Python is an open source language and there's a community support. What is the community support? There's a library for doing anything. You want to parse the PDF, then you can use the PDF to read PDF to library. You can read the PDF characters. Everything is there. But inside every module, every program, everything you import, there is a code written by someone. So just keep this thing in mind. Okay. There's one more thing. If you will see, something is called join as well. We will see this in a string, but just I want to teach you. Okay. You will see what this join function do. It will ask for a string as an input, because every time the default argument for this the default argument what this function accept is a string. It is saying join every value of a string, every value, iterate on every value, go to P, and then after it append, and then go to P, after it append this exclamation mark, go to Y, append this, go to N, append this, and then go to N, append this, again go to space, after space append this. This is the way how you can join any string with some value in Python. We will see this in a string just to tell you. So the class will continue, but in the meantime, what you guys have to learn, you guys have to check what is Puppet. Okay. In complex number, when I was printing complex dot real part or complex dot imaginary part, I hope you will make some notes. Why it is printing float type? Complex dot real. It was like this: 5 plus 7j. Why it is saying this 5 is a? I can see that 5 is a integer value, but when I'm printing program in Python, it is giving me a float value. Why this is there? I know the answer. You can also check. And then what is base 10? What is decimal? What is hexa? You should have knowledge of this. And then just I want you to be aware of the cloud technologies. Just go to any website and then read any tech blog, read any blog on Medium or anywhere on cloud, whatever is your favorite cloud, just read the blog. And one more thing that you guys, these are just Google search you have to do. And then just go on internet, just understand what is high level language, what is low level language, what is dynamically typed language. I have shown you the example. We will see this example in the next coming classes as well. But just see this. What is interpreter? What is compiler? What is LLD? What is HLD? High level design, low level design. So these are the things you should be aware of. So why I am saying this? Because whenever we sit in an interview, the questions were very random. The questions were really dynamic. So I was giving interview of MongoDB Australia, and then the interviewer was he hold a PhD degree. I was expecting all the questions from all the technical questions. Like they will ask me coding questions and all, but there is a vague question that comes. There he said that do you know about cloud technologies? I said yeah. He asked me name any cloud vendors. I said Amazon, Azure and all, HP as well. He said okay. He said, do you know MongoDB is also a cloud? I said, yeah, MongoDB is a cloud. So he asked me how MongoDB cloud work. If you know that cloud technologies work, then he asked me how MongoDB cloud work. So that comes into this low level design, high level design. You should be aware of this coding terms. So in interview, if you don't know anything, but if you know that you have the knowledge of the tools, the technology, the terms, you can convince that person. At least, yeah, you have some knowledge. You are really interested in the computer science, so you have some knowledge as well. So that's why I usually read blogs. I usually read tech blogs, and these days I have a developed interest in the global politics. So I mean, it's just my personal thing I'm sharing. So you should be aware of the things which are happening around you. Okay, so just take the screenshot or anything, and just read about these things. These are really helpful. Now come to this. As I told you earlier, we will see the naming variables in right way. Everything should be small. Alpha is okay. Capital and alphabet character is okay. Alphabet and then numeric character after it is okay. This is called camel case. This is called camel case naming convention, where the first letter is small and other letter of your variable, they start with a capital and small and a capital and small. Something is called Pascal case as well. Everything is by default. Every first letter of your word will start with a uppercase alphabet. So this is called Pascal case. This is called a snake case. Everything is small, but with a separation with underscore. It's called small. It's called snake case. Uh, so if you will see one more thing, I want to show you. We will learn this in for loop, but just see this thing. This how this print statement work. Whenever you write a print statement, why everything is automatically going to new line? Or something. What case we follow in Python? It's not like we can follow any case. We can follow any case of variable naming, but you should have followed these case. It is not like you are naming a variable arbitrary. You are naming a variable like this. Like suppose you are making function. Never make function like this. You are making a function in Python, and then uh, I mean, this is why I asked you to read Puppet. Puppet tell you how to write code in Python. According to PEP 8 guidelines, you make function like this, sending SQS means simple queue service message. This is not the right way. Your function sending SQS message should not be defined in uppercase character. So this is the wrong variable naming convention according to PEP 8. So I was saying why every time when I'm writing print, this is what I'm doing. I'm generating a range object which is from 1 to 4, the numbers from 1 to 4, and I is acting as a variable. We will see this in for loop, but I'm just telling you, focus. I will act as a variable. This variable will first go to 1, then go to 2, then go to 3, then go to 4, then go to 5, then go to 4, not go to 5 because it is end minus 1. Now what we are doing inside this for loop, we are every time getting this I variable, printing it, printing 1. This variable is now go to 2, printing 2, printing 3, printing 4. Why it is not like 1, 2, 3, 4 in a single line? Why it is automatically going to next line? It's because there's an argument which Python support, which is called end. If you will, by default, the end is /n, which means new line. If you will provide end as space, don't go to new line, just put a space. It will all come in this way. You are saying end by dash, just print by dash thing. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and it will also print dash after 4. So you have to figure out how to remove this dash. If you are just want to present information in a nice way, you are saying end by this is end by these x separations. So you are just like 1, 2, 3, 4, and n times x. So this is called the default argument which is already present by /n. That's why whenever you write print function, invoke print function, everything's come in new line automatically. Okay. Docstring is a thing. Docstring is a really important thing in Python, which means yeah, whenever you make a function, okay, whenever you make a function in your code base, whenever you are working in a company or writing a function in a code base, you should write this docstring, what this function is doing, what is the input, what is the output. So docstring is like, start with three of these commas, start with three quotes, and then these again closing these three quotes. Someone mic is on mute. Okay, so start with three quotes, close these three quotes, and write something, and this thing will automatically come in new line. So this is it's called docstring. Now the question is, why we use docstring? I'm just, whatever I'm teaching you, it's like what we use in writing a nice code base or building a nice pipeline. So the thing is, why we use docstring, as I mentioned you, we just want to pass some kind of information to the person who is working in a particular code base, or who is just checking this going. Suppose I'm the new joiner in a company, I have to go through the existing pipeline and I want to understand what this pipeline do. If there is some textual information is present, so I can see which direction to follow. And if there's no information which is written, I can't understand this. I can't, if like a normal human being, what is this? I mean, if you will see a normal human being can't understand this. But if there is some docstring, like what this function is doing, then yeah, I can able to get through the function. I can able to understand, okay, what this particular service is doing. So it will be like easy for me. That's why I asked you that please learn Puppet. Please go through the Puppet as well. Is it different from comments? Yes, docstring is different from comment, because docstring or documentation string, the full form is documentation string. Docstring full form is documentation string, which means like we provide documentation or information about functions, classes, and modules. Comment is like I am doing this a equal to 10 into 2. So I'm just commenting it like I'm making a comment. Here I am multiplying pressure value by 2. It's a comment. Comment is what this specific piece of line is doing. But docstring is what this whole function is doing. So it is used for like code documentation, maintaining readability and maintainability. Like someone else come, he or she want to make change in this function. If they know what this function is doing, they can make some changes. They can make some changes. Now come to this data types. Do you guys want to take break for like 15-20 minutes break? Then we will continue the class again, because the syllabus is large and the time is short. I could have teach you on, I can teach you on the weekdays as well, but it's not feasible for many people. So we can take a short break. Yeah, for like, now the time is, you can see on my screen, the time is this. It's Indian timing. Yeah. So it's like 2 p.m. IST. So just take 20 minutes break. Just come after 20 minutes. And yeah, just come after 20 minutes. 20 or 20 minutes. We will see you at 2:20 p.m. IST.